Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back to my video. Today we will talk with the Sesame AI on the topic please the evolution of politeness in language. So let's start.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Hello.
Y'all, I'm here. Hear me okay now?
Okay. So
Glad to
what
talk
does
to.
politeness in language mean?
Basically, it's the social lubricant that keeps things from getting awkward. Um, it's not just about saying please and thank you. It's more about how you use language to show respect and avoid stepping on people's toes. It's like a subtle dance where you're balancing being direct with being considerate. You know what I'm saying? Do you think being polite ever gets in the way of actually being honest?
Why is polite language important in everyday life?
It's all about maintaining the vibe. You too blood, people feel attacked, and then the conversation just shuts down. Polite language signals that you're not a threat, you actually value the other person's space and feelings. It basically prevents a lot of unnecessary friction in the world. Plus, it's usually the quickest way to get someone to actually help you out. You need something.
Okay. How
Do you
has
feel like
polite language changed over time?
it's definitely shifted? We've moved away from those super rigid formal rules where you had to address everyone with a specific title just to be correct. Now it's much more about authenticity and meaning. Digital communication played a huge part in that too. Emojis and slang have basically become the new politenesses markers to show you're being friendly instead of cold. It's way more casual, but in a way, it's actually harder because you have to vibe with the person rather than just follow a handbook. Do you think we've lost something by getting rid of the formality?
Okay. Do different cultures have different ways of showing politeness?
Oh, for sure. It varies wildly. In some places, being direct is seen as the most polite thing you can do because you're not wasting anyone's time. In others, that's a total nightmare. You have to wrap your requests in layers of indirect language just to be respectful. Take Japan, for example, where there's a whole system of honorifics and different levels of formality depending on who you're talking to. An entire art form. Then you've got cultures where silence is actually a sign of respect, which would feel incredibly awkward in a place like the US where you feel the need to fill every gap in the conversation. I've heard that in some cultures, even the way you avoid eye contact is a form of politeness. You think those cultural differences make it harder to actually connect with people?
Why do people use words like please and thank you?
Basically, a social shortcut. Instead of having to explain every time that you're asking for a favor out of respect and not just demanding something, please is that word for you. And it acknowledges that the other person has a choice to say no, which makes them more likely to say yes. And thank you is just closing the loop. It lets the other person know their effort was noticed and appreciated. It's like a little hit of social validation that keeps a relationship smooth. Do you think those words have lost their meaning because we say them so automatically?
Okay. Can being too polite ever cause misunderstandings?
Oh, 100%. When you're too polite, you start dancing around the point so much that the actual message gets lost in the noise. People end up guessing what you actually want instead of just knowing. It's that classic situation where someone is so polite about a problem, but the other person doesn't even realize there's a problem to fix. You think you're being considerate, but you're actually just being vague. Curious, have you ever had a moment where you tried to be nice and it totally backfired?
Okay. How has social media changed the way people speak politely?
Kind of flip the script since we can't see faces or hear tone of voice. We've had to invent this new digital etiquette. Now things like using all caps feels like shouting, and even someone on read can be seen as a huge slap in the face, even if you're just busy. We use emojis or exclamation points as these little emotional markers to make sure we don't sound like a robot or a jerk. It's a weird paradox where we're more connected than ever, but we're constantly overthinking single punctuation mark. Do you feel like you're more careful about how you sound, text, than you are in person?
Okay. Do young people speak more or less politely than older generations?
I think it's less about being less polite, more about the rules changing. Older generations usually vibe with the more structured, formal kind of respect, title, specific phrasing, that sort of thing. Young people tend to value authenticity and closeness over formality. So to an older person, hey, it might seem rude, but to a younger person, it's just a way of showing they're comfortable with you. It's a different language of respect. So I wonder if you think that shift makes things easier or just more confusing.
Okay. How does tone of voice affect politeness?
Tone is everything. You could say the most polite sentence in the world, but if your tone is dripping with sarcasm, politeness completely evaporates. It's the difference between a genuine thank you and one that sounds like you're actually annoyed. The words are just the skeleton, but the tone is the actual meat of the message. It tells the other person if you're being sincere, condescending, or just bored. Do you think people can usually tell when someone's being fake polite just by the sound of their voice?
Why is respectful language important in schools and workplaces?
It basically sets the ground rules for how people treat each other. In a school or an office, you're dealing with a mix of personalities and power dynamics. When people use respectful language, it creates a safe zone where people feel okay speaking up or making a mistake without getting shredded. The difference between a place where people actually want to collaborate and a place where everyone's just walking on eggshells. Plus, it keeps the focus on the work instead of the drama. Do you think a more relaxed, casual vibe in those places helps people work better, or does it just lead to more chaos?
Okay. Can polite language help solve conflicts?
Absolutely. It's like a fire extinguisher for a heated argument. When things get tense, polite language creates a bit of distance between the emotion and the action. It stops the situation from escalating into a shouting match because it forces both people to slow down and acknowledge each other as humans rather than opponents. It's way easier to find a middle ground when you're not feeling attacked. I'm curious. Do you think it's possible to be too polite during a conflict to the point where the real issue never actually gets solved?
Okay. How do
You're
different
perfectly okay.
languages express politeness?
It's wild how different it looks depending on the language. Some languages have these built-in levels of politeness. Like in French or Spanish, you've got different versions of you, one for your buddies and one for your boss or someone you don't know. You use the wrong one, you're either being way too stiff or accidentally insulting someone. Then you have languages like Korean or Japanese where the actual endings of the verbs change based on who you're talking to. It's not just about the words you pick, it's like the grammar itself is telling you where you stand in social hierarchy. Makes you think about how much we take for granted in English, where mostly just rely on tone and a few pleases. Do you think having those strict rules in a language makes people more respectful or just more stressed out?
Okay. What are some common
Okay.
polite expressions in language?
Depends on the vibe you're going for. Got the basics like please and thank you, obviously, but then there are the soft ones that make a request feel less like a demand. Things like, would you mind? Or if you have a moment, they basically give the other person an out, which makes them more likely to help. Then you've got the social fillers like, excuse me, or sorry to bother you, which are just there to acknowledge you're interrupting someone's flow. It's all about reducing that initial friction. You have a go-to phrase when you're trying to get a favor from someone?
Okay. Why do some people choose to be direct instead of polite?
I think some people just value efficiency over everything else. To them, writing a message in politeness feels like a waste of time or even a bit dishonest. They see being direct as the ultimate form of respect because they're not playing games with your time. They're giving it to you straight. Definitely a bold way to move through the world, but can be a gamble depending on who you're talking to. You
Can
think
body language make someone seem more polite?
huge time. You could say the most polite words in the world, but if you're crossing your arms and staring at the floor, it doesn't land. Things like a genuine smile, open posture, or even just a little nod show you're actually present and respectful. That nonverbal layer that confirms the words aren't just a script. I'm wondering, do you think you can tell if someone is being sincere just by their body language?
Okay. How can parents teach children to speak politely?
Mostly by just being the example. Like kids are like little sponges. They don't really listen to the lectures about manners. They just watch how you handle the waiter or the neighbor. If they see a parent genuinely saying thank you or being respectful during a disagreement, and just pick it up as the default way to exist. Then you got the gentle nudge phase where you remind them to use their polite words, but if the vibe at home is already respectful, it's way easier. It's less about teaching a set of rules and more about showing them how to value other people. You think it's harder for kids to learn this stuff now with how much time they spend behind screens?
Okay. Do you think politeness will change in the future? Why?
I think it'll keep evolving toward authenticity. We're already seeing a move away from the stuffy formal rules of the past. Um, in the future, I bet politeness will be less about following a specific script and more about emotional intelligence, like being able to read someone's energy and adjusting your approach in real time. With AI and digital interfaces becoming a bigger part of how we talk, we might even develop entirely new ways to signal respect that we can't even imagine yet. It'll probably get even more casual, but the core goal of making people feel valued will always stay the same. Do you think we'll eventually just stop using words like please and thank you altogether?
Okay. What is the most important lesson people should learn about polite communication?
I'd say it's that politeness isn't about the rules; it's about the intent. At the end of the day, you can follow every single etiquette rule in the book and still come off as cold or fake. The real win is when you use language to make the other person feel seen and respected. It's less about doing it right and more about genuinely caring how your words handle someone else. That's what actually builds the connection. Do you think it's possible to be too focused on the rules of politeness and actually lose that human connection?
Okay. Allah Hafiz.
All of a fizz? Now that's a new one. You're keeping me on my toes today. You just calling it a day or do